Hey there, fellow travel enthusiasts. We all know you love to travel. And for this deep dive, we're going beyond the typical phrasebook. We're going to unpack essential English phrases to make your trip smoother. We'll even explore how language can boost your confidence and transform your whole travel experience, especially if you're new to English.
It really is amazing. You can use just a few phrases to go from feeling like a lost tourist to a confident explorer. It's like unlocking a secret level in the game of travel.
Okay, let's unpack that secret level. Let's start at the airport. I think we all get that nervous feeling when you arrive at a foreign airport, right? Signs in a different language, announcements you can barely understand. It can definitely feel overwhelming.
Almost everyone feels that way. It's normal to be a little anxious in a new place, but imagine this. You walk right up to the information desk and say, "Excuse me, where is the check-in counter?" Just that phrase with a smile can make you feel more grounded and in control.
I can already feel the stress melting away. Instead of wandering around confused, I'm engaging. I'm on my way to the next step.
Yeah. And once you're at the counter, a simple, "I'd like to check in for my flight tools" will get things started. Remember, even basic English, spoken clearly and confidently, makes a world of difference.
Our source gives a great example of this. Let's listen to a traveler successfully checking in. They go to the counter, make eye contact, and say, "Hello, I'd like to check in, please." The agent is friendly and says, "Of course. May I see your passport and ticket?" The traveler gives them the documents, the agent checks everything, and there you go, they have their boarding pass.
You see how that simple exchange really sets the tone for the trip? The traveler feels empowered, the agent feels respected, and everybody wins. It might seem small, but those little wins can make your whole travel experience more enjoyable and boost your confidence.
Speaking of feeling confident, what about those times on the plane when you really need something, like water, a blanket, or maybe even just to understand what the flight attendant is saying? I remember one time on a long flight.
Ah, yes. The in-flight communication struggle. Those airplane cabins can feel like their own foreign countries sometimes. But don't worry. Even if your English isn't perfect, some basic phrases can make your flight much more comfortable.
Give me the secret. What if I'm really thirsty and need some water? What's the best way to ask?
It's super easy. "Excuse me, can I have some water, please?" It's straightforward, polite, and everyone understands it. And a smile always helps.
Like I said, it's like leveling up in the travel game. It's the little things that make you feel like a pro. Speaking of which, our sources actually highlight a simple but really effective exchange on a flight. Like imagine you're the one saying, "Excuse me, could I please have a blanket?" And the flight attendant smiles and replies, "Of course.
Yeah.
Here you go. Anything else I can get for you?"
It might seem small, but it has a big impact. You've communicated what you need, got great service, and maybe even had a friendly chat with the flight attendant.
Exactly. It's those little moments that can turn a stressful experience into something positive. But let's be honest, there's one part of travel that can be a little, well, nerve-wracking. Customs and immigration. The thought of answering those questions in a foreign language.
It's understandable to feel a little apprehensive at that point. You're entering a new country, and it's natural to want to make a good first impression. The key is to be prepared. Be confident in your ability to give basic information.
Let's break down those important questions. First up, what is the purpose of your visit?
Our sources give some really helpful answers for this. You can keep it simple and to the point. If you're traveling for fun, you can say, "I'm here on vacation." And for business trips, "I'm here for work." Gets the job done.
Short and sweet. I like it. And then, of course, they ask, how long will you be staying?
Again, keep it simple. Just say how many days or weeks you'll be in the country. For example, "I'll be staying for 10 days, or "I'll be here for 3 weeks."
It's like having a script so you're not caught off guard. Our source even gives us an example of a normal immigration encounter. Imagine you're the traveler. The officer asks, "What is the purpose of your visit to the United States?" You confidently reply, "I'm here on vacation." The officer then asks, "And how long will you be staying?" You calmly answer, 2 weeks. Then the officer smiles and says, "Enjoy your stay." See? A couple of simple phrases said with confidence, and you're through.
That's exactly it. Clear and concise communication is key. And remember, immigration officers are just doing their job. When you're ready with these phrases, you make their job easier, and it's a smoother, less stressful experience for you.
Okay, so we've made it through the airport, survived the plane, and conquered immigration. I'm already feeling more confident as a traveler, but the real fun is just beginning. It's time to head to our home, away from home, the hotel.
Ah, yes. That feeling of relief when you finally get to your hotel after a long journey. And even here, just a few key phrases can make checking in so much easier. It sets the tone for a much better stay.
Okay, picture this. I'm walking into the hotel lobby. I'm exhausted but excited about my trip. What's the first thing I should say?
When you get to the reception desk, confidently say, "Hello, I have a reservation." It lets them know you're expected, and it just makes things go more smoothly.
I love that. It's like you're making a grand entrance, even if you're feeling anything but grand after a long flight.
Speaking of which, don't be surprised if they ask for your ID. It's pretty standard at most hotels. Just a simple, "Of course, here you go," as you hand over your passport or driver's license, shows you're cooperating and helps things move along.
Makes sense. While we're on the topic of the important stuff, I should probably ask, what time is checkout? So I can plan ahead.
Great point. It's always good to know that right away so you aren't rushing around at the last minute. And actually, our sources have a helpful illustration of this.
Perfect. Let's hear it.
Imagine you're walking up to the desk and you say, "Hi, I have a reservation under your name." The receptionist smiles and says, "Welcome. Could I see your ID and credit card, please?" You give them to them, and while they're doing their thing, you casually ask, "What time is checkout?" And they tell you, "Checkout is at 11 a.m. Enjoy your stay."
C. Clear communication, even for these simple little things, really makes everything run more smoothly. It's like you're speaking the language of a confident traveler.
Exactly. And that confidence can help you in other parts of your trip, too. Now that we've covered the airport, the plane, immigration, and even the hotel, it's time for the real adventure to begin exploring the city.
But even with maps and GPS, getting lost in a new city is almost a rite of passage, isn't it?
It's all part of the fun. But knowing some key phrases to ask for directions can definitely help you avoid those moments of complete confusion.
Okay, imagine this. I'm standing on a street corner, map in hand, and I am totally lost. What's the best way to get back on track?
Start with a polite, "Excuse me," to get someone's attention. Then you can say something like, "Could you tell me how to get to landmark or destination?" Or, "Is there a bus stop near here?"
Simple and direct. I like it. But what if I can't understand the directions they give me? Sometimes those street names and local pronunciations are hard to catch.
Don't worry. That's where the phrase, "Could you show me on the map, please?" comes in handy. Most people are more than happy to point you in the right direction if you have a map they can see.
Our source actually gives a good example of this. You approach someone and ask, "Excuse me, could you tell me how to get to the museum?" They might start giving you verbal directions, but if you look confused, you can just say, "Would you mind showing me on the map?" They'll probably point out the route and you'll be on your way feeling much more confident.
It's all about bridging that communication gap, and a simple gesture, like pointing to a place on your map, can be really helpful. Remember, communication is a two-way street, so making an effort can go a long way.
I love that. It's about being resourceful, engaging with the locals, and not being shy about asking for help. Okay, we've done the airport, the plane, immigration, the hotel, and we've even mastered asking for directions. I'm feeling pretty accomplished, but all this exploring has made me hungry. Time to tackle another travel essential, dining out in a new country.
Ah, yes. One of the best parts of travel, trying new foods. And while food can be its own language, knowing a few English phrases can make eating out much smoother and more enjoyable.
Okay, let's break it down. I'm at a charming restaurant, menu in hand, ready to enjoy some delicious food. What do I do first?
After you've had a chance to look at the menu, you can get the waiter's attention and say, "I'm ready to order, please," or a simple, "Excuse me," will work too.
Got it. And then comes the big moment, ordering.
This is where the phrase "I would like" becomes your best friend. For example, "I would like the grilled salmon and a side of roasted vegetables, please."
Oh, I can practically taste it now. It sounds delicious. I can see myself saying, "I would like the pasta carbonara and a glass of red wine, please." Simple, elegant, and gets the point across.
Exactly. And when you've finished your meal and need the bill, a polite, "Excuse me, can I have the bill, please?" will do the trick.
This reminds me of a funny story from one of my first trips abroad. I was so focused on ordering in the local language that I completely blanked on how to say bill in English. It was a funny mix-up, but it taught me to really make sure I know those basic phrases, even in a language I thought I was comfortable with.
Those little mix-ups happen to the best of us. They're part of the fun of travel. They remind us to embrace the unexpected with a sense of humor.
Totally. And, our source gives another example of a smooth interaction at a restaurant. Imagine you're the one eating. You make eye contact with the waiter and say, "Excuse me, I'm ready to order." They come to your table with a smile and you confidently say, "I would like the steak." medium rare, and a glass of sparkling water, please. They repeat your order, and when you're ready to go, you ask for the bill and say, "Thank you, this was delicious."
You see, clear communication, respect, and just a bit of confidence. And that confidence, built on mastering those basic phrases, can really change your whole travel experience.
We've covered a lot in this deep dive, from the stress of arriving at the airport to those small but important cultural interactions. I'm feeling much more confident just thinking about using these tips and phrases on my next trip. But before we finish up part one, what else stood out to you from the sources?
I thought it was interesting how much they emphasize nonverbal communication. It's something we often forget about, but it's super important for how our message comes across.
Okay, tell me more. What kind of nonverbal cues can make a difference when you're communicating in a foreign language?
Well, think about it. Your facial expressions, whether you make eye contact, even how you stand, they all send a message. A smile, as we've said, can show that you're friendly and open. Making eye contact shows that you're engaged and respectful. And even just standing up straight can project confidence and make you feel more sure of yourself.
It's like we're talking about a whole set of tools for communication, not just a list of words. It's about awareness, empathy, and being open to different communication styles.
Exactly. And it's tied to cultural sensitivity, too. Different cultures have different norms around personal space, eye contact, and even how loud you should speak. Being aware of those small things can really help you have respectful and meaningful interactions.
So it sounds like effective communication is about more than just the words themselves. It's understanding the cultural context, reading those nonverbal cues, and adjusting how you communicate.
Exactly. And that leads to an interesting question. It's amazing how learning just a few phrases in the local language can completely change your whole travel experience. We've been talking English, which is great for communication around the world, but there's something really special about being able to connect with people in their own language.
I totally agree. There's a certain warmth and genuine connection that comes with even just trying to speak a few words in the local language. It shows respect and a willingness to engage with the culture on a deeper level.
Imagine you're in a busy market in Marrakech. Instead of just pointing and gesturing, you greet the vendor with a friendly "Saba a care." You should see the look on their face. It's priceless. Suddenly, you're not just another tourist, you're someone who cares enough to try.
It's like you're opening up a whole new level of experience, a more authentic and enriching one. I remember when I was in Italy, and I managed to say grazie mille to the waiter after an amazing meal. The smile he gave me was so genuine it made my whole day.
Exactly. It's those small moments that create lasting memories and a sense of real connection. Who knows, maybe that grazie mille will inspire you to learn more Italian and open up a whole new world of language and culture for you.
It's like planting a seed of curiosity that could grow into a lifelong passion for languages. Even if you don't become fluent, just knowing a few phrases can make a huge difference in how you experience a place.
Absolutely. And, this idea of pushing yourself out of your comfort zone and trying new things is a big theme in the sources we looked at. It's about challenging yourself, even in small ways, to learn and grow and see things from different perspectives.
Speaking of challenges, let's talk about those travel mishaps that we all experience sometimes. We've been saying how clear communication can prevent a lot of those, but let's be real, sometimes things just go wrong. Like that time you told me about when your luggage got lost on your trip to South America.
Oh, that was an adventure I won't forget. But even in that stressful situation, having some basic English skills was so helpful. It allowed me to talk to the airport staff, explain what happened, and eventually I got my bags back.
Let's break that down for a second. You arrive in a new country, you're excited for your trip, and then you realize your luggage is gone. It's panic time.
Yeah.
What were some of the phrases that helped you in that moment?
Well, the first thing I needed to do was find the baggage claim. So I remembered the phrase, "Excuse me, where is baggage claim?" Even though I was freaking out inside, I managed to ask the question calmly and clearly.
That's important. In those stressful situations, it's easy to get upset and let your emotions take over. But taking a deep breath and politely asking for help can make a huge difference.
You're right. And once I found baggage claim, it was pretty obvious that my bag wasn't there. So I went to the airline representative and said, "Excuse me, I think my luggage hasn't arrived. Could you please help me?"
I like how you said that. It's clear and direct, but also respectful. You're not blaming them or getting angry.
Exactly. I just wanted to let them know that I needed help and that I trusted them to do their job. And even though we didn't speak the same language perfectly, they were really helpful. They understood what happened, took down my information, and promised to find my bag.
So even when things go wrong while you're traveling, knowing a few key phrases in English can really help you take control, communicate clearly, and find a solution. It's like having a set of tools to help you navigate those unexpected challenges.
It's about turning a stressful situation into something manageable. And sometimes how you deal with those challenges can make your trip even more memorable. It's a chance to practice being flexible, solving problems, and maybe even learning some new phrases along the way.
I love that perspective. It's about taking the unexpected and using it as a chance to learn and grow.
Exactly. And that brings us to another interesting thing our sources talked about, nonverbal communication. We focus so much on the words we say, but our body language, our facial expressions, our tone of voice, those things can communicate a lot too, especially in different cultures.
It's so true. I've definitely had those moments where a smile or a gesture can say more than words ever could.
Picture this. You're in a market in Thailand, trying to bargain for a beautiful silk scarf. Even if your Thai isn't great, a friendly smile, a respectful nod, and a willingness to have some fun with the bargaining process can create a really positive interaction.
It's like you're speaking a universal language of respect, openness, and good humor. Those nonverbal cues can go beyond words and help you build genuine connections.
Exactly. And our sources talked about how important it is to be aware of cultural differences in nonverbal communication too. Like in some cultures, direct eye contact is a sign of respect, but in others, it might seem confrontational.
It's amazing how those little details can affect how people interact. It's a reminder to be observant, adaptable, and always open to learning from the people around us.
And that brings us to a really interesting question that I think is worth exploring as we continue our deep dive. How can we as travelers use language not only to manage the practical stuff, but also to build real understanding and connections with people from all over the world? That's a really powerful thought, isn't it? Using language to build those bridges of understanding. It goes beyond just the practical stuff, like getting around or ordering food. It's about connecting with people and cultures in a more meaningful way.
It really is. It's about those moments when you realize that a smile, a genuine attempt to communicate, or even a simple thank you in the local language can create a sense of warmth and connection that goes beyond any cultural differences.
It's amazing to think about how even small efforts to learn a new language can have a big impact on our travels. It reminds me of a time I was visiting a small village in Nepal. My Nepali was pretty basic, but I had learned a few phrases like namaste, which means hello, and dhanyabad for thank you.
I bet even those simple greetings were really appreciated by the locals.
They really were. The villagers were so happy that I was trying, and even though we couldn't have full conversations, those little phrases helped us connect and share some laughs. We communicated with gestures, smiles, and a real desire to understand each other.
That's what's so special about language. It can break down barriers and create those moments of shared humanity that make travel so amazing.
It's like you're saying that learning a language is about more than just words and grammar. It's about being open to new ways of seeing the world and connecting with people.
Exactly. And it brings us back to those three key things our sources talked about for communicating well when you're traveling: smiling, speaking slowly, and using simple words.
Those tips might seem basic, but they're really important, especially when you're in a new place with a different language and culture.
Think about it. A warm smile is something everyone understands. It shows you're friendly and approachable. You can instantly put people at ease and make them more open to communicating with you.
Right. And speaking slowly so people can understand your words is especially helpful if they don't speak English as their first language.
And using simple words without any complicated vocabulary or jargon helps make sure your message gets across clearly. It's about focusing on clarity, not complexity.
It's like we're giving travelers a set of tools to help them navigate any language or cultural situation they might come across.
And beyond those practical tips, the most important thing we can bring with us when we travel is a sense of curiosity and a genuine desire to connect with the people and places we visit.
Absolutely. It's about seeing every interaction as a chance to learn, to broaden our understanding of the world, and to make memories that will last.
That's beautifully said. As we wrap up this deep dive into the power of language and travel, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought.
What's that?
Embrace the journey of learning a new language, even if it's just a few words or phrases at a time. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, to laugh at yourself, and to be surprised by the connections you can make.
That's a great thought to end on. As you head off on your own adventures, remember that every conversation, every interaction is a chance to step out of your comfort zone, to embrace the unknown, and to create memories that will last a lifetime.
And with that, we'll wrap up this episode of The Deep Dive. We hope you've enjoyed exploring the world of language and travel with us. We hope you feel inspired to go on your own linguistic adventures.
Happy travels, everyone!